as you know by now, it is known that APC won that election. There were other contestants in the election. Labour Party was one of them, and there were so many issues that we probably can get into. Now, to help me with that this morning, I have Mr. Taiwo Adeleye. Mr. Taiwo Adeleye in studio here is the Senior Programs Officer, Nigerian Human Rights Community. A fine morning to you, Mr. Adeleye.
Thank you very
much for coming on. And we'll be joined also by Professor Lucky Akadwese of the University of Port Harcourt. He's a founding member of Pan-Niger Delta Forum, as well as being a former president of the CDHR, Community for the Defense of Human Rights. So the professor will be joining us later as soon as possible. But in the meantime, we can start. Mr. Adeleye is here. Your very good selves are out there. And that's usually all that we need for a conversation. So, Mr. Adeleye, as you know, since the election in Lagos and the announcement of INEC has, announced that the incumbent governor of the APC has indeed won the election. And if anybody wants figures, he really won it convincingly. More than doubling the votes of the next person to him, which happened to be the candidate of
Labour Party.
Of Labour Party.
Yeah.
But as we were saying before coming on air, there have been complaints. Complaints have been noted, they have been received, and we've got we've got commentary both from Governor Sanwo-Olu of Lagos, other well-meaning members of society, the president-elect, and largely, especially coming from the president-elect and from the incumbent governor of Lagos, is that, those unfortunate incidents that were reported upon, that's not what Lagos is about. That's not what we're about at all. The Sanwo-Olu made that point, as did Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu said that he was pained to hear of those, skirmishes, isolated cases of violence, complaints that were recorded, that some people felt that they were not treated as fairly as they could have been. When you look at it, we sort of, I think there's a need to put in perspective what happened, how it happened, and perhaps it is not as bad, even though if only one person happens to be a victim of violence, then that person will not really be coming along with you when you say it is not as bad. It's as bad for me. So we understand there will be those human feelings. But so without in any way trying to shy away from them, we still have to be careful not to overemphasize or what actually happened. And so I wonder if you were to take a view, since you were out there observing, how would you characterize this last election in Lagos State that has just gone? I've said that we've heard complaints.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. In the first place, Lagos State is a cosmopolitan city, and over the years we have been living together. We have been living. Lagos is
all peoples across Nigeria.
Across Nigeria, be you Igbo, be you Hausa, be you.
That's right. And we have sizable populations
people,
people of Igbo extraction, people of
even foreigners,
everybody. It's really a cosmopolitan city.
Yes, it's a cosmopolitan city, and to a large extent, when you look at Lagos, you realize that even Lagos is even a mini Africa. Lagos itself is even a mini Africa. So on the basis of this, you expect vested interest in most of the happenings and developments in Lagos. And when we now see the election that took place recently, we realize that, really, and to some extent, there were skirmishes, there were, misunderstanding, especially prior to that election, because there were heated arguments as to how the election where the election was going.
And Lagos was, if you permit my interjection, sorry for that. Okay. Lagos was coming from the last election, which was 2 weeks ago. This one happened to be postponed.
The presidential election.
That of the presidential election. Okay. And Lagos had arguably been jolted, had been shocked.
Exactly.
By the presidential candidate.
Yes, losing to Labour Party.
Losing to the presidential candidate of another party. It happens to be Labour Party.
And it happens to be Labour. And in fact, even when you look at that, election, the presidential election, to some extent, we even need to look at what actually happened before that presidential election. Reasonably, like the Labour Party might assume that maybe they have a sizable number of people, from maybe, a sizable number of people that will definitely give APC a run for their money. But at least to some extent, the point is there were a lot of reasons, there were a lot of grievances on the ground that led to what actually happened during that presidential election. For example, the issue of NSAS by some maybe youths in Lagos, they wrongly assumed that maybe it was on account of maybe the instruction of the presidential candidate of APC. He had a hand in that. Some of those people it was a kind of protest vote on the part of some group of people like that. There were some people that equally thought that, well, after all, this APC, this man has been influencing the outcomes of elections in Lagos over a given period of time. Why is it only this man that will be dictating the affairs of this?
And that wasn't necessarily coming from any other party. It might have been from the presidential candidate of APC's, party.
Of course.
This might have been, because we've heard since that people say that the Igbo voted in a certain way that resulted in the result that we had. But other people have said that that's not necessarily true, that there were a lot of non-Igbo votes.
There were not
a lot of non-Igbo votes. A lot of, not a few. A lot of non-Igbo votes.
If it were to be only Igbo votes, they wouldn't have defeated APC in Lagos State. Even a lot of people from Yoruba extraction, even from outside extraction, because there were a lot of reasons which people had before going to that election. Okay. And that's, for example, the issue of the students, something I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. It's not only the students that protested during NSAS. It involves both the Yorubas, the Igbos, and the Hausas, and the rest of them. Even within the APC itself, there were a lot of grievances. There were a lot of, the caucuses of some groups that were not really in tandem with certain policies, which to them, they believe this is the right time for them to take their own pound of flesh. That is another group. Then another group is, well, no matter what it takes, another political party believes that, after all, why should it be APC that has been controlling the affairs of Lagos and whatever? Yeah. So there were a lot of reasons that led to that protest vote against, APC. In that presidential election, voting for Tinubu. For not voting for Tinubu. Okay. But this is the governorship election is a different ballgame entirely. First of all, they have to look at the track record of the man in question, that is Governor Sanwo-Olu. They have to look at his achievements in Lagos. That one will speak volumes as to whether we want to follow this man or we are not going to follow this man. They have to look at the policies of the man and even APC in Lagos, that how has it been fair to even the non-indigenous in Lagos concerning appointments in Lagos State? How has been, people from other regions or whatever, how have they been benefiting from the benevolence of the present administration in Lagos State? They have to look at that. And not even only that, they have to look at, even, in Lagos presently, they have to look at the right from 1999 up to today, the Lagos State as a party, APC as a party, what they have been projecting, how have they been achieving their policies, the party manifestos that have been benefiting majority of Nigerians that are living in Lagos State. So these are a lot of things that actually counted, that made Sanwo-Olu came out victorious in the last governorship election. So when you look at the reasons or the rationale behind voting against APC in presidential election, vis-a-vis the one that happened during that of Sanwo-Olu, they are far miles apart. That is the reasons and the rationale behind the votes given to Tinubu and that of Sanwo-Olu. They are not the same at all. So in essence, what I'm saying is, going by the last governorship election in Lagos, we cannot say that in totality, everything actually went well. That is understandable, and that is very clear. We cannot,
there were some unfortunate incidents.
There were some unfortunate incidents, one way or the other, but that does not presuppose that at the end of the day, it will have a telling effect on the outcome of that, the final result.